I believe that every single person should have the means to secure their digital assets. If it's a Bitcoin, if it's something else, for me it's Bitcoin. The beauty of Bitcoin is that if you can remember those 12 or 20 or 24 words in your mind, if something bad happens in your country, you can just leave and take your whole wealth with you just by remembering few words.
Hi Lauri, welcome to the BitcoinBázis podcast.
Thank you, very nice to be here.
So how did the original idea for Trezor came up? What was the problem that you guys were trying to solve?
Yeah, so I think it was around 2013 when our co-founders, Slash and Stick, yes, those are their nicknames and those how the Bitcoin community knows them, they kind of started to think that there must be a better way for newcomers that are coming into Bitcoin to take self-custody over their coins. So before that, it was mainly for cypherpunks and more technical people. They kind of knew how to do it safely. It was not that easy, but they started to see more and more so-called normies coming into the space, and they just realized that they need way more easier tools, better tools, more user-friendly tools to take care of the Bitcoin. So that was kind of the starting point of Trezor and the whole hardware wallet industry, basically.
Were there any other hardware wallets around in that time?
No, so Trezor was actually the first one. So the Trezor Model 1, I think I actually have it here. So this little device, that was the first hardware wallet ever. So when it shipped 2014, it was the first time you had a dedicated device just to secure your Bitcoin. And basically every other hardware wallet after that, it has been building on top of the Trezor legacy.
What does self-custody mean or meant back then compared to how people understand it today? Because now we are more after 13 years, we are more well versed in crypto and in Bitcoin in general. We know that not your keys, not your coins, but was it different back then?
I would say that the essence was exactly the same, right? So the idea of a hardware wallet and self-custody is that, like you said, not your keys, not your coins. Of course, the tools have changed. So like I showed, there's a Trezor Model 1 that was released nowadays. For example, last year, we released Trezor Safe 7. So the tools are getting better, but of course the idea of self-custody, it's still the same. You want to own your Bitcoin, you want to have full ownership, full control, and that I don't think that has changed at all, just the tools.
So do you think that in the early days, the co-founders imagined that Trezor or hardware wallets in general will become mainstream?
I don't think so. Of course, I don't want to put any words in their mouth, but I cannot think that they would have thought when they started the Kickstarter. So the whole thing started with the Kickstarter campaign. You can still find the video in YouTube. It was mainly at that moment very niche. Again, of course, not that many people were in Bitcoin yet. The number was growing up, but it was still very, very niche people who wanted to take self-custody, who actually even was in Bitcoin. And nowadays, we have more than 2 million users just for Trezor. And the whole industry, there are multiple different hardware wallets, multiple different solutions. So I don't think they saw that what they started would grow to this big thing. And I like to think that they're actually very proud that they kind of started it all.
Ha komolyan érdekel a kriptokereskedés, érdemes megnézned a Krakent, a 2011 óta működő amerikai székhelyű kriptotőzsdét. Kiemelkedő előnye, hogy támogatja a Bitcoin Lightning Networköt, így gyorsan és olcsón tudsz BTC-t ki- és beutálni. A Krakenen egy helyen intézheted a kriptovásárlást, eladást, tartást, vagy beállíthatsz DCA-t is, vagyis rendszeres vásárlást is. A staking révén passzív jövedelmet szerezhetsz, illetve spot és margin, valamint derivatív piacokon is aktívan kereskedhetsz. Emellett a Kraken MiCA engedéllyel is rendelkezik, ami extra biztonságot és átláthatóságot nyújt a magyar felhasználónak. A podcast leírásában találod a partnerlinkünket. Ha ezen keresztül regisztrálsz, azzal hozzájárulsz a csatorna fenntartható működéséhez, plusz költség nélkül.
Can we talk a little bit about you? What was your orange pill moment, or how did you arrive to the industry?
Yeah, so I think the first time I heard about Bitcoin was maybe 2014. I'm originally from Finland, and my friends were using it to purchase certain items from Finnish Silk Road. I don't think they even knew, to be honest, exactly what Bitcoin was at that time. Definitely, I did not understand what Bitcoin was. And then, of course, I heard it during the years multiple times. There were news how Bitcoin died the 1,000th times. And the first time I really kind of dipped my toe into Bitcoin was 2021. And it was basically just number go up. It was a FOMO moment for me. I just saw that a lot of people were having it. There were a lot of news articles. Money was made. I kind of wanted to have piece of that. And then that kind of then led me into the rabbit hole. So I bought the first Bitcoin. I kind of like, okay, what is this thing? I have just some numbers on my screen. What is the big fuss around this idea of Bitcoin? Went to whole history of money, how it's created, how central banks are controlling money, about ownership. It was a quite long journey, I have to say. And it wasn't like a one moment when I would be like, hey, this is it. Now I get it. But it was a process. And then at some point, I just kind of realized that, hey, this is actually super cool. First time I can own something concrete. Nobody controls it. Nobody can tell me what to do with it. And there it kind of then took off.
So when you first acquired Bitcoin, were you already thinking about self-custody, and did you already own a hardware wallet, or was it like more of like, okay, like let me just buy it on an exchange and then think later about like all the custody stuff?
Yeah, like when I bought it for the first time, I did not even know what self-custody is. I did not even know hardware wallets exist. It was 100% just, hey, I heard about Bitcoin. There's this platform called crypto.com. Name made sense to me at that moment. Everything was crypto for me. So definitely no information about hardware wallet or how to take it seriously or how to take full control, because I did not fully understand the asset at that point at all. So it was purely financial number go up for more moment, and then the self-custody part, it kind of came later when I really started to understood what I'm actually having. And I think it was then 2023 so 1 year after, when I kind of got my first software wallet. And that was the first time I kind of took control of the Bitcoin. But of course, at that time, I did not really understand the security aspect, hot wallet, cold wallet, or anything like this.
So how did you come to work with Trezor? What was the journey up until then?
Yeah, so it was also around 2023. So previously I was working in a B2B SaaS company here in Prague, doing Prague marketing. And Trezor at that time started to think that, hey, we really need a Prague marketing department at the company. Prague marketing is basically, it's this team that works between product department and marketing department. And they kind of define what is the messaging for your product, how do you position it in the market, how do you want to talk about it so it really resonates with the people and the users. And then happy coincidence is that recruiter Katka from Trezor just wrote me in LinkedIn that, hey, there's an open role at Trezor for product marketing. It's about building the whole functionality. And I was like, yes, this is for me. Because, yeah, like I said, I have been in Bitcoin at that moment already a few years. And the funny thing is that I actually did not know that Trezor is from Prague, Czech Republic. I, of course, knew Trezor name at that moment, but I didn't know that it's from Prague. And I have been living in Prague now 10 years. So that was a very pleasant surprise. And yeah, now I've been here almost 3 years leading the Prague marketing department and loving every moment about it.
And how did the product change, or like how did the narrative change that you try to communicate with Trezor in the last 3 years?
Yeah, so of course we have gone at Trezor more for coin agnostic direction. So Trezor started as a Bitcoin only company. Of course, at that moment there were no other networks, no other coins. Then it kind of went to Bitcoin first. So we added some additional networks to the mix as well. And then in the previous years, we have kind of moved on this coin agnostic direction. So we feel that we should not be the people tell you what coins to hold on your Trezor. Trezor is a freedom tech, and part of the freedom is that you can do whatever you want with the device. So this is probably the biggest narrative change for Trezor. But of course, overall, it's all about security, giving people the control, and of course, like adding more functionalities for the users, serving them better. But probably the biggest one is this change from Bitcoin only to coin agnostic direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a big narrative change, especially like when we think about, especially in Prague. I think many people there are like Bitcoin maxis. So it's probably, was it like a fight that you had to go through in the community with that, or was it like an easy to push through narrative?
I cannot say that it was easy, especially in the company, of course. There was a lot of discussions. What is the direction for the company? We have a lot of Bitcoin maxis in the company, and exactly like you said, Prague is probably the Bitcoin capital of Europe. I would like to think also Bitcoin capital of the world. You can go basically thousands of shops and restaurants and pay your food and drinks with Bitcoin. And we have, of course, the biggest Bitcoin conference in Europe, BTC Prague, here. So it wasn't easy, but of course we kind of realized at some point that that's something that we should do. Bitcoin, at least for me, it's always the most beautiful, the biggest coin and digital asset that there is. But like I said, in the end, Trezor is freedom tech. It's all about giving people the control of their financial future. And I feel that it's not our job to define how you use Trezor or which coins are worth of holding. People can do what they want. That's the beauty of freedom.
So Trezor has always emphasized like the importance of being open source. Was it like non-negotiable from day one?
No, absolutely. And I think there are like few reasons for that. First one is that the opposite of open source is trust. And that's something that we don't want people to do. We don't want people to trust us. The whole model for Bitcoin is to replace trust, decentralized, open source. So why should the hardware wallet that you use to protect your Bitcoin, why should that not be open source? So that's definitely the first point. And then the second one is that the beauty of open source is that other people can build on top of it. So, for example, exactly, we built the first hardware wallet. There are a lot of competitors who are using our code. We also then built this BIP39, so the seed phrase wallet backup standard that is now used basically every single wallet out there. And that's also open source. And the whole point is that anybody can use it. Anybody can build on top of that. And that makes the whole industry better because we don't need to always try to rebuild the wheel. Like I cannot think how the industry would look like if all the hardware wallet companies and all the wallet companies would try to create their own backup system. It's so much better that we have one. You can use it across all the devices, and this is only possible with open source. So I think open source was always the goal. It has always been one of the biggest basis of fundamental things for Trezor. And when we build stuff, we always are like, hey, open source, absolutely. This is how it should be. This is, at the end, Bitcoin is open source. So why shouldn't the wallet you are using be?
Yeah, I think it's the mindset of the community in general, but like not, especially when you open to like the bigger crypto scene, not everyone has the same mindset. I think for Bitcoin maxis, they share this similar view, but in general, not the whole community. or maybe that's just my opinion or like how I experienced this. But how do you balance this like usability with security, especially for like non-technical users?
Yeah, so we like to say, or at least our CEO Maciej likes to say that we have these kind of three pillars. So it's usability, privacy, and security. And you need to have all of those. So it's like usability times, security times, privacy. And if one of those is zero, the whole equation is zero. So it's definitely something that we spend a lot of time thinking about, how we can make our products even easier to use without sacrificing the security. And we have a lot of debates. Can we do certain features that people ask? Or if we have some cool ideas, how we can improve the product, is it actually secure enough? And our idea is always that whatever we build, it should not lower the security of the device. So we do debate a lot. We do have a lot of discussions, what we can add, what we cannot add. But at the end, the whole idea is always that the secure way or the safest way should be default, and you shouldn't give users kind of options to do some easier but not that safe ways to do it. People usually they like to go with the default settings. So if you make the default way secure and easy enough, that's usually absolutely okay for most of the people.
What is like the most kind of like thing that people mess up when they use Trezor wallet, or do you have any feedback that they like probably like the users it's not easy for them to understand, and like as a product developer you would think, or like as the product owner you would think that like okay it's probably like very easy for anyone to use?
Yeah, so of course there are multiple small things. Biggest one, especially for newcomers, is probably passphrase. So that's the 25th word, or that's the additional sentence what you put on your seed phrase. And the point there is that people don't really understand what it is or what does it do. I think we are still very much as humans, we live in this world where if I lose my Google account or I forget my password to X, I just click a button and they will send me a link. Hey, go here and create a new password. This is the world where we have been living so long that we don't really yet understand that, hey, in self-custody and in seed phrases and passphrases, that is not the case. If you lose your wallet backup or if you lose your passphrase, that's kind of it. And we have seen people losing their passphrases because they did not understand that it's not something that Trezor, we have access to it. So people sending messages or emails to our support like, hey, I forgot the passphrase. Could you please give me a new one so I can access my Bitcoins again? And of course, that's not something that we can do. We don't know the passphrases. We don't know the seed phrases. We don't want to know what they are because that's the whole purpose of self-custody. So then, of course, what we did, for example, is that the passphrase used to be very easy to do. Even for newcomers, you open your Trezor for the first time, you were like, hey, would you like to introduce a passphrase for better security? Because there definitely are a lot of use cases where passphrases are super useful, but without really understanding what we're doing, it's a quite massive food gun. So we then took it away from the onboarding and put it on the settings like that, hey, you need to know what you're doing, you go there, you enable it, and then we have a quite thorough onboarding explaining all the things like, hey, don't forget this. If you do, there's nothing we can do. And even that, we saw like a lot of support tickets going down because people just read better security, they did it. Now they have to kind of find it, they need to know what they do. And if you know what you do with the passphrases are wonderful. If you don't know, I would highly recommend to study them first before making any characters as your 25th word.
So this is like probably like the most dangerous kind of misconceptions about like hardware wallets, that you can reset the passphrase.
That is probably the biggest one on the seed phrase and passphrases, because like I said, we are not yet, if you don't study the space and you don't understand what you are doing, there are the problems. Of course, if you know what you do, it's super safe. And then, of course, the other part of the hardware wallets is that the hardware wallet, it's just one part of your security. I know people who think that they buy hardware wallet and they're like, okay, now it's just kumbaya, world is perfect, I am safe. But of course, the big part is then also the user itself. So hardware wallets, they kind of solve the problem of hackers and malware. So nobody can hack your keys over the internet. But then they kind of realize that the weakest link then is the user itself. So phishing links, all these, that's the part where we also see a lot of people losing their Bitcoin because they click wrong link, or again, they don't understand fully the wallet backup and they enter it in some phishing site or something like that. So the user at the moment is always the weakest link.
But I'm not sure if I remember it correctly, but back in the days, I remember that there was one way of not necessarily. I'm not sure if it was Trezor or if it was another wallet, but there was a way to get your passphrase out of the wallet.
So passphrase is not possible to get out of the hardware wallet, but with Model 1 and Model T, because they don't have a secure element, it was possible to, or there have been cases where people have been losing their PIN, and then they went to these services that kind of got their PIN back and they were able to access the funds on the device. Passphrase was exactly what we were then recommending for those users, because passphrase is not stored in the device, it's just in your head. So without the passphrase, it was not possible at all. And then, of course, now with the latest version of Trezor devices, so the safe devices, Safe 3, Trezor Safe 5, and Trezor Safe 7, we do have a secure element, and that's kind of the protection for any physical tampering. So hardware wallets always have been, even the Model 1 and Model T, they are absolutely 100% secure against any online hacking. And now with the Safe family, also with the secure element, the physical tampering, there has not been no cases. I don't think there has been ever any cases that a hardware wallet with the secure element would have been any way hacked or cracked.
Do you see Trezor more as a Bitcoin first company or like a sovereignty first company?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's definitely more sovereignty first, or freedom tech, like we like to say. So we started as a Bitcoin only, then we went to Bitcoin first. Now we are moving more to this coin agnostic idea. And yeah, like I said, I don't think that we are in a phase or place to be like Bitcoin good, everything else is bad. I know people have their own opinions. I'm also, like I said, I think Bitcoin is the most beautiful thing. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi in a sense that I would hate everything else, or like toxic Bitcoin maxi. I'm more like self-custody maxi, and I believe that every single person should have the means to secure their digital assets. If it's a Bitcoin, if it's something else, for me, it's Bitcoin.
I asked this question again, or like I wanted to come back to this subject because I want to ask you if there is a risk that like supporting everything or like every other coin or like multi-coin dilutes the original mission or dilutes like the security in general.
Yeah, security, no, I don't see it that way. We do, of course, have Bitcoin only firmware, and we are very proud Bitcoiners. So we have also Bitcoin only devices that you can buy if that's your way of doing things. I know that there are people saying that because the Bitcoin only firmware has less code, it's more secure because there is a smaller attack vector. Okay, that's a very valid point. But of course, whenever we release a firmware version, it doesn't matter if it's a Bitcoin only or multi-coin or universal support, we do a very thorough testing There are always bugs. Every code has bugs, but I don't see it as an obstacle in a sense. Then when it comes to like the mission, I think the mission has always been kind of empowering financial freedom. A lot of people, that's Bitcoin. For me, that's Bitcoin. For some other people, it might be something else. So in that sense, I don't think it dilutes the mission. And at the moment, like at Trezor, our mission is uncompromising self-custody for everyone. And here, I think the key word, especially for this question, is everyone, not just for those who use Bitcoin, but also other people.
So, what do you think is like a bigger risk today, like hackers, governments, or like user complacency?
Definitely the user. Hackers, I think we kind of solved it with the hardware wallets. Governments, that's something that we kind of need to keep eye on, I think, where the political and regulation atmosphere is going, or where the space is going. But definitely user. Like I said, the biggest problem is that people think that they are very smart. Usually they are. At least I like to think that way. But they think also that I am very good and I can spot fake website or malicious email. And it's not that easy anymore. Hackers have found out that they cannot hack the devices, so they go after the users. So users with their seed phrases, maybe they don't know exactly what to do with it and they lose it. They don't test it. And then once they need to recover their wallet, they realize that, oh, I wrote one word wrong and now I have a problem. Of course, if one word is wrong, it's quite easy to recover. But in a sense, that can be a problem. But then exactly it goes to the point where users don't maybe understand what to do, what to not do. And especially with the phishing, that is probably the biggest issue for the industry at the moment.
So you think that's how like the average user's threat model changed since 2017? Because I think these like phishing emails or like phishing models like kind of became popular around like 2019, 2020. And it didn't start with Bitcoin or like crypto, it started with the banks as far as I remember.
Yeah, so absolutely. Like the phishing is the biggest problem I see at the moment. The websites, they are getting very nicely done, especially nowadays with AI. It's very difficult to actually sometimes realize that the email what you got or DM or some message from somebody is not actually valid or it's not from the company. Of course, there are like a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself. Like the biggest one and most obvious ones are that hardware wallet companies, if it's a Trezor or somebody else, they never send you anything without you starting the conversation first. So if you get some message that, hey, you need to update something, that is always a scam. Even in the emails, just checking like who sent it to you, it's usually a good way to spot it because it comes from some very random email address. And then, of course, like the main point is always that you should never put your seed phrase or wallet backup anywhere else except in your hardware wallet. If you put it anywhere else, that's a big no-no, and please don't do it. But phishing it's especially now with the AI, it will be so much better. It will get so much better all the time. But it just like stop. If somebody tries to push you to do something very urgently, usually it's not true. So it's just to be aware and know these kind of things happen, and you are safe. But unfortunately, sometimes we rush into things and we do something that we regret later. That's life, that happens. But there are ways to protect yourself against phishing.
Yeah, like it's not just phishing, but also like blind signing transactions. Back in the days when decentralized exchanges just like started to come up, there were many transactions that you would sign, and then some people would find a way to access your wallet and clear out your wallet because you signed the transaction. So, and even we were like working in the industry, but like, I mean, I was an exception, but I had friends who were not like exception for that, even though they were working with crypto already for like many years. So.
No, definitely. I think that's a bigger problem for crypto itself, altcoins, especially like smart contracts. The attack vectors are way bigger than Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, it's a quite simple protocol. Of course, like it's extremely complex, but in essence, it's a very simple protocol. So it doesn't have these kind of attack vectors. But yeah, DeFi, blind signing, signing something that you don't really understand, it's always a kind of bad habit. And then, of course, even with Bitcoin, I have seen people sending Bitcoin to somewhere and they don't actually compare the address on the screen. They just sign it. And that kind of also is not a good practice. It takes like 5 seconds to go through the address where you are sending your Bitcoin. There's no reason to kind of skip like, okay, I'll just check first 4 and last 4 characters and I save 4 seconds. It's always better to just confirm exactly where you are sending your Bitcoin because, of course, there are malware that can hijack your computer and try to push you a wrong address where you are sending it. And this is also one reason why I think that the screen itself is extremely important in a hardware wallet, because without the screen, you cannot actually verify what you are signing. And the whole purpose of the hardware wallet is that you don't need to trust anything else. You don't need to trust your laptop. You don't need to trust your mobile phone. What you see on the screen, that is exactly what you are about to do. There's nobody that can kind of put a wrong address on your hardware wallet screen. It's exactly what you're about to do. And when you sign it, that's it. So I like to think that the hardware wallet without the screen is not proper hardware wallet. Those can give you better security than hot wallets, but screen is absolutely mandatory from my point of view for proper self-custody, proper Bitcoin security.
But I'm hearing from like our last couple of like minutes of conversation that if you are like someone who likes to trade or interact with smart contracts, it's probably better to have 2 separate hardware wallets. One which is like where you keep your assets secure, and then one which you play with, kind of. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely one thing what we see people having. So they have like a hardware wallet where they have their main bag. It's kind of the gold one that they don't interact that much. And then they have a second one where they do some DeFi and Web3 stuff. Other option is then, of course, that you can have multiple accounts in one hardware wallet. So you still use the same device, but the accounts are separate from each other. So what happens in one doesn't affect the other one. So then if you accidentally sign some malicious smart contract, it will just take the crypto that you have in that specific account. So that's also an option. But of course, like if you really want to go with the best security idea, you can have multiple hardware wallets. That's absolutely fine. And that's then also in a way that you kind of little bit split the risk. Even if somebody finds your wallet backup, for one hardware wallet, they don't have access to a second one.
A Pécs Bitcoin egy svájci alapítású, magyar nyelven is teljesen elérhető peer-to-peer piactér, ami összehozza a bitcoint eladni vagy venni szándékozó embereket. A folyamat nagyon egyszerű és biztonságos. Létrehozol egy ajánlatot, a bitcoinod letétbe kerül, a másik fél átutalja neked a pénzt, majd miután igazolta a fizetést, a bitcoin automatikusan a tárcájába kerül. És a legjobb benne, hogy a regisztrációhoz elég egy e-mail cím, így magasabb védelmet kapnak a személyes adataid. Ha közvetlenül másoktól vennél vagy adnál el bitcoint euróért vagy forintért, biztonságosan, akkor érdemes lehet kipróbálnod. A linket a leírásban találod.
How did like the European regulation impact self-custody tools?
That's an interesting question. Like, of course, now we have MiCA regulation, so it's the markets in crypto assets, I believe. I am not sure yet how it will be. The good thing is that at the moment they don't consider hardware wallets or self-custody as something that they should regulate. Of course, there are like travel rules and this kind of stuff happening, but they do regulate like custodial services way more, which of course you can debate does it make sense or not. But for me and for Trezor, of course, the biggest important part at the moment is that they kind of, or at least I like to think that they somehow understand the difference between self-custody and custodial services. So that's an interesting thing to see where it is actually going at the moment. And of course, I must say that I am not anyway expert in crypto regulations and what governments are doing in that sense. But of course, I guess always have an opinion.
No, that's for sure. But like they are forcing KYC on the users, which is like, okay, you can say that like in a way it makes sense. In a crypto, through the crypto lens, I don't think it makes that much sense. So like, do you think there is like a future where like using your hardware wallet or like wallet in general becomes like politically sensitive?
I think there's a future for that. I don't know if that will happen, but I can see that being one option. Like even at the moment, I think it was a few weeks back or maybe a month back, there were news articles about certain countries that if you go there and you have your hardware wallet, you might be forced to open the wallet. So you need to give your PIN. So the agencies, they can access it, which of course it's a very troubling direction, I have to say. And then overall, like what is Bitcoin and what is self-custody, freedom? Of course, there are nations that kind of don't want to give their people that. So definitely that is an option, or that is something that can happen. Again, I think the important part is, and I know that there are a lot of lobbying groups even trying to make sure that the regulators and the leaders, they understand that self-custody is not something that you should regulate that much. It's a very different that if you own your Bitcoin on your own hardware wallet versus that you have it in some exchange. So I hope that that is the direction where we are going. Of course, KYC overall, not the biggest fan, even in Satoshi Labs. So Trezor is part of Satoshi Labs holding. We have Vexel, who does exactly this. So they do non-KYC peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading. And the whole ethos is that you should not give your information, just that you want to own Bitcoin. And that's exactly how it was also in the white paper. So peer-to-peer, not through some trusted third-party custodial services. So that's the kind of course, perfect world. Can we ever achieve perfect world? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully. But only time will tell how the regulators will see the space.
So how do you think that like individuals should prepare for like if the financial surveillance keeps like expanding? Do you think like maybe we should like stop buying from exchanges in general and then just like go on the peer-to-peer route, or like what else would you recommend?
That's of course one option. Of course, the problem with KYC is that that's kind of linked to you forever. If you buy Bitcoin and you need to KYC, the authorities, they will always know that you bought Bitcoin. Of course, they might not know how much you have, but they have the record of you doing it. So the best option is always KYC free. Other thing is, what I think is super helpful is some kind of separation. So you can have exactly multiple wallets. That's one way. And also in Trezor, we have the multi-share backup. So you can also separate your seed phrase or wallet backup into multiple places. Maybe it's not all just in your home, but of course you can even make it in a way that you have one share in some different country or different location. So you kind of spread the risk. But of course, with the beauty of Bitcoin is that if you can remember those 12 or 20 or 24 words in your mind, if something bad happens in your country or in the nation where you are living now, you can just leave and take your whole wealth with you just by remembering few words. So that is always a kind of a nice thing to remember, which of course you cannot do if you have cash or gold, or if you have a house, you cannot take it with you if something is going wrong in the country you are in. But with Bitcoin, it's super easy. So this is of course good thing to keep in mind, and then overall just understanding self-custody, because if something goes wrong, if you have the control over your Bitcoin, over your wealth, you can just go somewhere else.
So what do you think like the self-custody will look like in 10 years? Do you see any trends that are changing?
I think it will be more invisible. Not meaning that we would kind of somehow abstract all the keys and all the complexity. Of course, some complexity can be abstract. I think we are moving more and more into the wordless setup, so that you wouldn't exactly have to write down the words, but there are some other options for that. NFC backups, these kind of things that of course make the whole onboarding easier. You cannot mistype words. And it's also super easy to recover the wallet. It's super easy to set up the wallet. This is something. But in the self-custody itself, I don't see much changing in the 10 years. I just think that it probably will become a little bit more invisible for the normal users, that you don't need to think about that much what you are doing. But there, of course, like this is something we have internally discussed quite a lot. Where goes the balance of not explaining, for example, during onboarding, what you are doing, because it takes more time and it requires more from the user to read through and understand, like, hey, here's your wallet backup. It's very important that you keep it safe, versus that you make it so easy that people don't need to even think about it. They don't maybe even fully understand what they are doing. Is that the better option? I don't know. I think it's somewhere in between, where you still kind of explain why is it important what you are doing, but still trying then to make it as easy as possible. But I don't think neither of the extremes, super, super, super easy without any explanation, and very detailed onboarding that takes 30 minutes. These are not the ways to do it. It's somewhere in between.
Is there anything that, like, when you look at the next generation of users, gives you hope?
I think the younger people now, they are actually way more into privacy, or at least that's what we have seen in our users. And when we talk with people, I don't know, is it because they have kind of always lived in online, and they are kind of think like, hey, there's maybe something wrong. But that was surprising to me, how they were kind of way more into privacy than we actually originally thought. And then I think they also understand digital ownership better than even my generation, millennials, early millennials. Like I said, they have lived online their whole life. They understand that better. So I think orange pilling them is a little easier, and they kind of take it more naturally than maybe us little older people.
So if you could like orange pill one group, that would be like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, or like who else would it be?
I think it would be interesting to orange pill all the central bankers. that could be very interesting approach. And actually, the funny thing is that the governor of Czech National Bank, I'm not going to say his name because I will totally mispronounce it, but I think he has actually been orange pilled. So Czech National Bank, they are doing some testing. So I think last year they put like $1 million worth of central bank money in Bitcoin and digital assets. So they are kind of already doing some pilot programs. And last week there was a Bitcoin Las Vegas, and I think he was there even talking. So I think we should have more central bankers like the Czech one. I think that would be very interesting to see where that is going.
Yeah, that would be very interesting, that's for sure. to be honest. Yeah, I would love to see that if like bankers or central bankers are orange pilled. But like it could be like a Trojan horse.
No, exactly. I think that would be the perfect analogy. We need to get to the inside of the beast and destroy it from there. So, central banks, Fed, all of this. Like, I'd really love to see that happening.
Is there anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't talked about during the interview and you think would be important for our listeners to hear?
Overall, just the idea of like where your journey is. Like I used to think that everybody should do hardware wallets from the first moment they even heard about Bitcoin. I had a friend that wanted to buy his first Bitcoin, and I was at the Trezor probably like 1 year, and I was super happy to hear that. And I bought him Trezor Safe 3, wonderful device for newcomers, and we set it up with him, and I was explaining all these wallet backups, and yeah, it generates your keys offline, and nobody can access it. And I just kind of saw that he really did not fully understand what I was talking about. So that was maybe the moment when I realized that the self-custody and proper Bitcoin security is more like a journey. You don't need to go first to the hardware wallet. You go there once you understand what it is. And I don't know if my colleagues will like me anymore when I say this, but I think it's better to have a small amount of Bitcoin in an exchange than getting a hardware wallet and not fully understanding what you do. Hardware wallets are super easy to use. They are so much user-friendly than they used to be, but still there is certain kind of learning curve that you need to do and understand. So if you start with the exchange, that's fine. Do the research, study a little bit what you actually are holding, what is the Bitcoin, what makes it so beautiful, and then understand the keys, control, ownership, and move to hardware wallet when you are ready. I think that's something that I probably would like to hear when I was kind of starting my journey, that it's okay to take your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I completely agree with that. Even like I know that you're like working for Trezor, and then it's your job to actually talk about Trezor and self-custody and how hardware wallet changes lives, which it does, to be honest. But like when I worked for a Hungarian exchange, I did recommend using Revolut to buy Bitcoin to some of my friends, even though it was more expensive to buy Bitcoin there, even though it was basically not their Bitcoin, because then back in the days they couldn't really like get the Bitcoin out of Revolut, but still it was like the easiest way to do, and it was less work for me to explain, to be honest. And that was just like the first step of that journey. I didn't say that like you should accumulate like your wealth there in Bitcoin, but like you need to get a taste, and for that, like it's okay to download like a software wallet, and it's okay to just like play around with a couple bucks of Bitcoin, and then see like to understand like everything that is out there, because every day I learn something new about Bitcoin. And then I did own a Trezor. I do own a Ledger as well. I think I also have a Wonky and many wallets. So like, some would say that I'm collecting these hardware wallets, but
Yeah, we have also here all these. So that's that's exactly the thing. Like I think the important part is that, and what I like to say when I talk with people is that getting hardware wallet is, I recommend it in a moment when you have that amount of Bitcoin that you'd be very, very, very sad to lose it. If it's like few bucks, okay, a few bucks can be a lot for some person. But if it's like, let's say, something that you just dip your toe into, okay, what is this? Let me get the first Bitcoin, see how it even works. Yeah, exchanges are fine. Once you have more, then it would be good to do the research and then get a proper security. And it's kind of okay, even go from software wallet to hardware wallet, just like that. That was my journey. But yeah, exactly. When you have more than you are willing to lose, or it would make you cry quite a lot, that's the time to take the ownership and take control of the keys.
Well, thank you so much, Lauri. I really enjoyed the conversation, and Trezor is definitely something that that I appreciate as a company to be on the market, because we used it as a company. I use it as an individual as well, and it's been kind of like fun to see how it was developing itself, and it was growing during the years in crypto, and keeping like everything, so keeping sovereignty and self-sovereignty as a mentality for the company is also very important to actually like spread this word and reach a bigger audience. So thank you so much for the interview and the work that you guys do. And hopefully we will have you back when you have a couple of new products, and you will send us some new Trezor products to actually try out. So we can so we can continue the conversation.
No, definitely we will do that. No, thanks for having me. I'm always extremely happy to talk about Bitcoin and self-custody. It's very close to my heart. So anytime you need, I'm here to talk.
Where can our like listeners reach you if they want to? I mean, like if they want to know more about Trezor, probably on the website, right? Or do you have any other channels where they can?
So website, of course. We have also newsletter. You can sign in and you can give just some random email address. You don't need to give your proper one. Just make some Trezor or Trezor marketing emails at gmail.com and get it there. We send a lot of offers and self-custody tips. Then, of course, we have wonderful YouTube channel where Sean, our video guy, is making a lot of cool content about hardware wallets and Bitcoin and self-custody overall. And then the best channel is X or Twitter. I don't know how it should be called today, but that's where we are probably the most active, talking with the community together with Reddit.